There's a time and place. I get it. You want to tell your cool war stories. You want to share the experiences. You want to let people know that you've done something. I get that. But you have to remember, they've done something too. Listen to their stories if you're going to tell yours. Welcome to the Vet Rise podcast. We're on a mission to make success after service accessible to every veteran. I'm your host, Juan Perez, the #1 veteran coach. Here at the Vet Rise podcast, we believe in the power of leveraging your service, not as a label that defines you, but as a launching pad for your next chapter. Together, we will change veteran culture because what we have been doing hasn't been working, and it's on us to start fixing our own issues. Join us on the Vet Rise podcast, where every episode brings you closer to the life that you deserve. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the Vet Rise podcast, the #1 podcast for veteran success after service. My goal is to make success in society accessible to every veteran after service. A lot of S's in there. All right, so this is going to be a really short one. I'm about to hop on a podcast. I'm about to be a guest on the Thank You for My Service podcast. I'm really excited about that, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. The host of the podcast is none other than let me pull it up here. I don't want to mispronounce her name because I know that I mispronounced it last time. Shauna Marie, and I'm really excited to be on her podcast. But I was thinking about time and place, right? Because right now is the time and place to tell my stories, to go deep dive into whatever I want to share, whatever I want to, because this is the platform for that. This is the opportunity to talk about the stories. This is the opportunity to be a little bit open and share some of the darkness that I carry with me. But there's a time and place for everything, right? So you have to remember that as you transition out of the military, because you are going into a place that doesn't deal with that on a day-to-day basis. Remember, you are 1% of society. 1% of society, right? That means that 99% of society doesn't know, necessarily want to hear, they might not even agree with the war or the fact that we deployed or anything like that, right? So at the end of the day, you have to remember that they may not want to hear the stories. And if they do, then maybe they ask you. But even then, test the waters. Don't necessarily tell them all of the gory stuff or all the necessary, the stuff that maybe you wouldn't share with everybody. You can share some of that stuff with the people that want to hear about it. You can share some of the stuff with your veteran buddies. That's fine. However, remember, you don't always have to tell the stories. You can create new stories. There's a time and place for everything, right? Now, telling these stories to your family, probably not the best idea. Why? Because your family will always see you in a certain light, and they will always feel for you, and they always worry about you. But you telling your family and explaining to them that you went through some stuff and that you need some help, and perhaps opening up slightly but shortly and testing the waters and giving a little bit more and more about the things that you went through. Perhaps it was traumatic. There's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes you do need to do that, right? However, you telling those stories to your buddies who maybe feel like they didn't accomplish anything in life, they might end up resenting you for it. You telling these stories to your new girlfriend that you just met on Tinder that, you're on your first date with, she might look at you like you're a little bit weird because you're telling these stories and you seem to have this dark humor about you, which is a whole nother issue that we'll be talking about later on, right? However, you telling these stories is healing in a way, but it needs to be done in the right way, such as therapy, such as having a conversation with a friend that maybe you deployed with who understands and was there with you, right? So there's a time and place for everything. There's a dichotomy for everything. Nothing is wrong or right. Nothing is black and white. But understand, there's a time and place for everything. You telling these stories in the middle of your college class isn't the right time to tell a story. Now, if it's a public speaking class and you were going to tell a story, choose the right story, something that people might want to hear about, something that people will actually find interesting. Remember, 99% of society didn't enlist. They didn't raise their right hand. They didn't choose to go out there. You did. And you, in one way, shape, or form, fought for their right to be able to tell you to fuck off. Right? And you can't be offended by that. Find the right people, surround yourself around the right people. Don't be angry at society. Don't be angry at civilians. Like, one way, shape, or form, man, I'm going to tell you something you're not going to want to hear. This is going to ruffle your feathers, but you are a civilian now. And you have to accept that. Like, you're not a war fighter. Ain't no war happening here at home. And if there is one day, then great. You can pick up your arms then when the Civil War comes. If it comes, I don't care about that kind of stuff because you know what? I concern myself with my life and my surroundings and my family and my kids because that is the influence that I have. Time and place. Truly read the room. Have situational awareness. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. Test the waters. Tame that dark humor. Stop self-deprecating so much because when you do that, you take away the seriousness of what needs to be done or what needs to happen in your life. Now think for a second right now. Think very hard and think about when was the last time that you didn't have situational awareness and you told a war story or a boot camp story or a story about when you and your buddies got fucked up and blacked out and you did something very crazy and possibly illegal and you told it in an environment that maybe you shouldn't have told it. Maybe it was during a family dinner. Maybe it was during a holiday dinner. Think about it for a second, truly. Could you have told a different story? Could you have told the story in a different way? Could you have just not shared the story? Could you ask someone else to tell a story? Could you have my ego? Everything that I tell you, it's because I've done it. It's not because I'm preaching to you. It's because I've been there. I've done it myself. So remember, have situational awareness, read the room, and when you get out, understand that you have to create new stories as well. It's not just about talking about all the old stories. Create new stories. Ask more questions than you give information. Meaning that you should ask more questions of people and be curious about people and learn more about people. Don't just talk about yourself all the time. I promise you, you will learn a lot more about yourself that way if you ask questions. I appreciate each and every one of you. This was a short one. Just remember, have situational awareness. Be curious. You are in a new AO. You are operating in a new area of operations. There's a dichotomy to everything. You can tell some of the stories in the right way. You can use some of the acronyms for the right reasons. It's not to alienate people. I'm not going to use the time 1700 for people that don't understand what that means, so I made them feel weird about it. I'm not going to say the word AO to people that don't understand what that means. But I know that my listeners are mostly veterans. I know that you guys understand the word area of operations, and you are in a new area of operations. Whether you've been out for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, understand that you are in a new area of operations. The culture is different, the climate is different, and you have to adapt, improvise, and overcome. Because in order to not just survive in society, but to thrive, you gotta freaking kill it. I just want to take a quick minute and just ask you to please share this podcast with another veteran who is having trouble in society. We were never a part of society. We came back to society and we had to learn how to start all over again. So if this podcast has helped you, if VetRise podcast has helped you, do me a favor, share this with another veteran that needs to hear this message. You have no idea who you might help. Thank you. Back to the regular episode. Now remember, have situational awareness, pay attention to the room, read the room, understand what you should and shouldn't say by testing the waters a little bit. Start working on that negative, dark humor, that self-deprecating humor that we've been using for so many years because we think it's funny. It's not. You're making light of serious situations because you don't want to handle it. And by the way, it hurts other people as well. Not just your loved ones because they don't understand why you find something that could be so dark, so funny, and it makes them worry about you, but other veterans that see it. I know that for the longest, when I would see other veterans use dark humor, when they would joke about mental health or when they would joke about something that was dark, I would feel like, well, I can't speak up and get any help because they're making fun of it. So why would I take it seriously? And I did the same thing. It ends here. It ends now. It ends today. Like, We have to change veteran culture by changing the way that we do things. The dark humor, the telling the war stories, the talking all about our military experience and not letting the veteran ego die. All of these things are holding us back as a culture. Let's work on it together. Let's rise together. Thank you for your time. And that brings us to the end of another empowering episode of the Vet Rise podcast. I'm Juan Perez, and it has been an honor to share this time with you. If today's episode inspired you, made you think, or gave you hope, I have a small favor to ask. Share it with just one veteran or someone who could benefit from our message. Your share could light a spark for them, just as it might have for you. Remember, the Vet Rise podcast is more than just a series of conversations. It's a community, a movement towards achieving the greatness we're all capable of and changing the veteran culture. For more insights and to join our mission, follow my socials at JP the Veteran Coach and explore how we can rise together through one-on-one coaching or joining the Vet Rise Academy. Thank you for joining us, for being part of this journey, and for believing in the power of rising together. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep rising, and never forget we are stronger together.